Okay, so our faithful Jon Spector is back with an update with the Overwatch League and its current state of affairs, shall we say, in terms of its preparation and its format for 2021. And this is actually rather interesting because it's given us the teams in the regions, which there is a surprising one. There is a massively surprising one. And then we also have the format and how they want to do things amid the current pandemic, which is still going on, and how they come out of that if we do manage to do that later in 2021. So, as many people had suggested, the Overwatch League will kick off in April of this year. It is not too far away, we're midway through January already, so teams are really ramping up their preparation, and it's going to be rather interesting. Now, I was wondering actually where to start off with this, and we're going to start off with the divides. So, it's not going to be APAC and NA, they're calling this East and West. So East is going to be basically APAC and West is going to be NA, quite obviously. And this is divided up into an 8 and 12 format. So there are 12 teams in the West, North America, and then there are 8 teams in the East, and obviously that is Asia. So the Asia region is very interesting. It's what we expected pretty much apart from one team. So we knew the Fusion were already moving there. They confirmed this earlier at the end of last year. We knew the teams that would be staying: Seoul, Shanghai, New York, Guangzhou Charge, and Chengdu Hunters. We expected them to stay. We expected New York to stay because they were keeping with the all-Korean roster, and obviously Shanghai, Seoul, Hangzhou, Guangzhou, and Chengdu are all Asian teams anyway, so we'd expect them to be staying in their region. So who's the 8th team? Well, it's not London, because London are an EU team now. They are an NA team, and they are going to be competing in that region, which I think is a really, really cool thing, and it makes sense. Why would you go into that region? But what doesn't make sense is that the LA Valiant have filled that hole in APAC. LA Valiant are the 8th team in the East region. Didn't see that one coming, not gonna lie. No battle for LA, I should say. Not at least in the regular part. That's a weird one. Like, we've got multiple teams in the West region that are full Korean. When we look at Washington Justice, Dallas Fuel, people like that, and then the people that are moving over is KSP, obviously British, Shax, Danish. Then you've got the Australian off-tank. I was gonna call him Punk. I was gonna call him Punk, which is pretty ironic. And you got Adam. Like, only less than half of the Valiant roster is Korean. So that's a weird one. That's a weird one. And it is going to hurt the Valiant. I did power rankings, and I wish I'd waited a little bit, because we did power rankings. That changes APAC. Valiant are bottom of APAC in power rankings. I can assure you, pretty much everyone will put Valiant bottom of APAC, because they won't be able to compete. So that is real rough for the Valiant, and it must be a choker for Valiant fans as well. Obviously, considering that that time that the matches will be going on when in APAC, it was rough for London fans last year, and obviously New York fans as well. It's going to be rough, and it's going to be rough for you Philly fans as well. But there are things being put in place for the Overwatch League to try and counteract that. So that means in the West, we're going to see the Atlanta Reign, the Boston Uprising, Dallas Fuel, Florida Mayhem, Houston Outlaws, London Spitfire, Los Angeles Gladiators, Paris Eternal, San Francisco Shock, Vancouver Titans, Toronto Defiant, and Washington Justice. So that's not too surprising. We knew Dallas was staying, and Dallas and Washington were the 2 teams I had big question marks over on whether they would go to the East region, and they didn't. So I think they're actually going to be 2 pretty good teams in NA next year, which is going to be really interesting. One thing to note is these regions are not being called NA and APAC. The reason being is because all of these teams will not be situated in NA and APAC because of the way in which the league are going to run this. So, East is Korea, China, and West is North America, Europe. The reason it's been called this is because Jon Spector has introduced this new system that the league is going to be using. And it's called a low latency system, where they are going to have people play from their home places. So, London and Paris will be playing from Europe, not North America, which is rather interesting. And I actually think it's a pretty interesting and good way of implementing this. It'd be interesting to see what Blase is going to do for London. He's going to have to move. But it means, obviously, and people are going to look at this and say, well, hold on a minute. You've got London playing from the UK, and they're playing against, say, Vancouver. Like, ping? What? Hold on. Here? Well, this latency system they've brought in seems to balance out the pings. And so it brings back the possibility of an even playing field where we can have intercontinental play. And that is massive for the way in which they want to play this season. So, they have formatted it into four sections, tournaments. And I don't know, I presume there will be overall standings. I don't think they will get rid of that for some reason. But it's going to be 4 tournaments with 4 seeding competitions leading up to those end tournaments. Just like last year, really, pretty much. And they'll be separated between East and West. But the difference between last year and this year is that those culminating tournaments, so Tournament 1, which will be after the first tournament seeding, will be intercontinental. So providing it is allowed, and I believe that the Overwatch League want to make this happen, they want each tournament to have an intercontinental tournament so that we see more intercontinental play, instead of like last year where we just saw at the end of the season. This format allows us to see that intercontinental competition much more frequently. It means we get to see that West versus East. It means we get to see the top of APAC, or what is now East, versus the top of West. It's going to make it like much more competitive and much more insightful. We're going to actually see which teams are best throughout the season, instead of just seeing it at the end of the season when it all culminates into one big playoff finals. There will be bye weeks separating these tournament segments, so it will be interesting to see what happens. Now, I want to read through this for transparency, basically. So what it says is, we are exploring a few different options to facilitate this global competition, but our current leading approach is to have the top qualifying teams from the West travel to Hawaii, where they will play against the top qualifying teams from the East via a directly routed connection from Hawaii to Asia. If necessary, though, due to changing health, safety and travel conditions, we will be prepared to quickly pivot back to a regional tournaments model. So, if things don't go smoothly, then we could see the possibility of the regional tournaments that we saw in 2020 come back, and therefore there will be no intercontinental competition midway through the season. Now, that has to be expected. We're still in a pandemic. They are working with what they're given. So, they are making the best of a bad situation here, but let's move on from the format and from the teams. I'm sure we will all be left guessing why Valiant have done what they've done, but they have they've done it. So, they're also working on changes to the broadcast and stuff like that. So, they are working in their second year of the partnership with YouTube to try and increase incentives for watching, rewards programs and stuff like that, which I think is really, really awesome. This hopefully means that we will get more rewards through the Overwatch League site, and hopefully, just maybe we'll finally get some rewards through the YouTube site, which would be really, really nice. They're also working on a spoiler-free Overwatch League setting for the Overwatch League site, so that you don't get spoiled if you're like an NYXL fan, a Valiant fan, or a Philadelphia fan from the APAC region, so you don't get your results spoiled. And then they're also working on upgrading the quality of the streams and stuff like that, which I think is really, really awesome. They're going to keep with their virtual desk that we saw in the grand finals, which I also think is a really nice addition as well. There is a thing going on with the Valiant recently. It's coming actually during me recording this video, which would explain why they are now in the East region. And it requires a video in itself. It is a worrying time to be a Valiant fan, if you're a traditional Valiant fan, because the Valiant may be going through some very substantial changes. This off-season is far from over. Far from over with what the Valiant are doing now. And it is going to be... yeah, it's going to be interesting, should we say. The Kanzaneka tournament is coming up very, very soon, which is going to be free to sign up for everyone. The league are also working with IBM to enhance the way we interact with players, teams, and stats, which is also really awesome. But that is it for the league announcement. I will be doing another video. I'm not sure when it's going to come out on the Valiant situation. The Valiant are in not trouble. That is the wrong way to say it, but there is a massive change going on at the Valiant. And it is a big bomb. It is a big bombshell. And yeah, it's really tough to be a Valiant fan right now. And we will take a look at that in another video. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you'd like to give a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video. See you then.